Miami Township, Montgomery County Board of Trustees to order. It is September 15th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Morris?
Here.
Mr. Culp?
Here.
Mr. Posey?
Here.
Mr. Posey, you have the reading of the military casualties.
Just have one today. Marine Corps Sergeant Trevor Golden at U.S. Central Command Operations passed on August 11th, 2020. He was 22 years old from Frankfort, Illinois, and a member of the 5th Marine Expeditionary Brigade.
Chief Stegelmeyer, first responder casualties.
Good evening. The following is a list of the first responder casualties of the period of September 2nd to September 15th, 2020. Corporal Charles E. Holt, Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, Texas. End of watch September 1st, 2020. Corporal Bryant Searcy, Wayne County Sheriff's Office, Michigan. End of watch September 2nd, 2020. Captain Stanley Curtis Elrod, Georgia Department of Natural Resources, Georgia. End of watch September 3rd, 2020. Trooper Thomas William Devlin, Massachusetts State Police, Massachusetts. End of watch September 3rd, 2020. Detective James M. Skinervitz, Cleveland Division of Police, Cleveland, Ohio. End of watch September 3rd, 2020. Detective Jose Mora, Fresno County Sheriff's Office, California. End of watch September 7th, 2020. Investigator Luis Mario Herrera, Lincoln Police Department, Nebraska. End of watch September 7th, 2020. Fire Captain Thomas Searcy, Houston Fire Department, Texas. End of watch September 8th, 2020. Deputy Sheriff Ryan Hendricks, Henderson County Sheriff's Office, North Carolina. End of watch September 10th, 2020. And K9 Blue, the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department in Georgia. End of watch September 10th, 2020.
Everyone could please join me in observing a moment of silence. Thank you. I will see that we have no guests or presentations. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
We have a number of items under new business. Mr. Hess, you have a motion.
Yes, sir. At the board meeting of September 1st, you made a request request action to be brought to this board at this meeting to explore funding for opportunities for Miami View Park improvements in 2021. The attached motion directs the administrator and fiscal officer to explore different avenues for potential funding of these improvements, to include but not limited to using unbudgeted revenue gains from sales of township property over the last several years, the use of unencumbered TIF funds as outlined in Ohio Senate Bill 4, and using the CIC and the Community Foundation to gain corporate sponsorships. The amount needed to fund those improvements to Miami View Park is approximately $500,000. And Mr. Morris, do you have anything else you would want to add to this memo that wasn't included?
No, I think you thoroughly touched on the points. I think, again, I'll just reiterate what we talked about last time. This is a unique opportunity in that the pricing on this equipment is significantly less. And we have an opportunity to get into it. And I think this is money we're going to spend eventually. I think the time is right for us to approach the community and use some of those unencumbered funds and get this done.
I also have Resolution 63, 2020, and that's a resolution requesting the city of Miamisburg to use its municipal powers to regulate traffic within the Miami Crossing JED. First, I want to apologize. I just realized today I failed to include a memo with this resolution. But as you recall, Mr. Snyder suggested back in 2018 that we use the powers of the city of Miamisburg to regulate traffic with the Austin Jet, specifically on Cranes Run Road after we repaved it, so to regulate truck traffic that was causing extensive damage to the roadway. And this was done by declaring this a no truck route through the city. As the Vienna Parkway Extension project has moved forward with the anticipated opening of the roadway in 2021, it is again the recommendation of the staff to request the city to use its municipal powers to regulate traffic with a no truck route within the Miami Crossing JED, specifically the area of Vienna Parkway that is within the JED. But I do want to note that this will only cover the extension of Vienna Parkway and not the existing roadway, since only the extension is within the JED. And I'm open to any questions on that.
This is sort of probably very basic, but really it's just no through trucks, meaning you can't intend to traverse. Trucks can still visit the sites there, the commercial sites being developed.
Correct. If they have business there, again, it's just no through trucks.
All right, hearing no other questions from Mr. Hess. Mr. Mayberry, you have Resolution 64, surplus property.
Yes, I do. Tonight, I just have the one resolution, and it does permit us to sell some aging items. And then there's some other miscellaneous parts that we also need to sell because they are from vehicles and equipment that we no longer own. Any questions?
All righty, Mr. McCord, you have Resolution 65.
Good evening, Board. I do have Resolution 65, 2020 to accept the rates and amounts as determined by the County Budget Commission. They provided with us a summary and a projection of the levy collections for calendar year 2021. And I've communicated that to the department heads to incorporate into their budget process that we've got underway currently. It's a little bit of an increase over last year's collections projections, but it still is consistent with what we've had in the past, and it still reflects what the county's already communicated as far as the strong real estate market. So at this point, these funds have not been adversely affected, at least in the levy collections, by the pandemic. So we'll continue to monitor it. But right now, we're up a little over 100,000 between the two funds, the two levies, the road levy and the police and fire levies.
Any questions from Mr. McCord? All right, Chief Stegelmeyer, you have Resolution 66.
Good evening, Board. I bring before you Resolution 66, 2020. This is a resolution to sell property to some more retiring officers I have. As of October 1, 2020, Officer Patrick McCoy will be retiring from the force. And in November, early November, we have Officer Tim Beatty that will also be retiring from the force. Per their FOP contract, Article 34, Section 1, the retirees who retire honorably have the option of purchasing the weapons for $100 a piece. And both of these officers have expressed interest in purchasing their weapons, and this resolution covers that purchase. And I will take any questions if you have them.
All right, hearing no questions for staff, we will now open the public comment period. Anyone wishing to come forward and make comments to the Board of Trustees may do so via this Zoom meeting. Just raise your hand or alert Mr. Hinkleman.
I see no one.
Having seen no one coming forward, we will close the public comment period, and we will move into consideration of resolutions and motions. I will make a motion to approve the motion to find funding opportunities for Miami View Park improvements in 2021. Is there a second?
John, I'm not going to second it, but I'd like to speak to it. I apologize, but when we had our conversation last time, I indicated my sentiment that I really thought that this issue needed to be part of a holistic view of the parks and under some better planning for them in whole, as opposed to specifically using one mechanism to benefit one park with one project. And I have other concerns about spending funds that could be used in other items without a good prioritization discussion. I know the COVID program has created some issues with us really getting to do some detailed strategic planning. We've started and stopped it a few times. We're in the development of a strategic plan, but internally among staff. My issue is that in May, we put a lot of projects on hold and froze staff salaries. And I'm not sure that the park funds are what we would prioritize use of newly found or creatively found funds for without some better guidance from staff and some other options. And that's really where my support for the park project is good, but in the detail that it's provided for in this motion, I'm not sure where it stands in terms of our other needs at this point.
Thank you for your thoughts. Mr. Culp, any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I'd agree with Mr. Posey's comments for the most part. I would emphasize that, and it's no secret to anyone that's been around the township, that I believe the low dam needs to be a high priority item when we go to take a look at our recreation in the township, within the township. Certainly it's not directly tied to this opportunity that you have, but I believe it has to be part of that complete view when we look at our parks and start spending money. Not that it's costing us money, but it's such a high risk item. We need to put pressure on Dayton Power and Light to responsibly respond to their what is simply their dam, to something that they need to start working on in a serious manner to remove. And up until now, for the last 3 years, they've delayed that conversation with us over and over. So I wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on one park and yet at the same time leave this glaring risk that we have in our recreation on the other side of the township.
I appreciate those thoughts, and thank you both for your comments. I would reiterate and ask either of you to reconsider an opportunity to second this motion. All this motion is exploring potential funding opportunities, giving the administrator the capability to go out and look at all potential avenues. There are corporations who are interested in funding this effort. And this is a unique point in time in that we have up to $100,000 to $150,000 in potential cost savings by looking at it right now. And those grants are available through the month of October, potentially through the month of November. I agree with Mr. Culp's priority on the low dam. The costs of that will be there, and they will be the same months from now and years from now as they are today. The cost of roads projects will be the same as they are today in the future. This is a unique opportunity that we have an opportunity to save our residents quite a bit. So all this motion does is to ask the administrator to explore opportunities, and should those opportunities not be identified, if there are no TIF dollars available, if there are no corporate dollars, then Mr. Hess, can you clarify that we would still need to come back and approve those purchase orders? Is that not correct? He is efforting to unmute.
You know, I'll add one more thing. When we go to look at the parks and recreation across the township, I'd like to see, and I'm putting this out here for the township, I'd like to see a study that includes what the demographics are that surround these parks, and just to make sure as a last vetting that we're putting the appropriate equipment in the appropriate park. By the way, John, the day after our last meeting, I went over to Miami View for the first time in years, and walked ran across a couple of Miami Township work crews actually having lunch there. I agree with you. It's a park that has incredible potential. So we don't want anybody to interpret this any other way. So I'm certainly pro parks, and that piece that I shared with you and certainly can be made part of the record demonstrates that. It's just I really have an emphasis on making sure that number one, we spend the money correctly in the right place, and number two, that the low dam has to be part of this effort. And I believe if we're all together pushing forward, it will be.
Sorry, my mouse went dead. Yes, any purchases would have to go in front of the board. And Mr. Culp, I just sent an email off to AES asking for an update on that project.
So I would respectfully ask one of the trustees to second my motion, because essentially all we're doing with this is similar to when we pass a preliminary development plan. I mean, you still have to come back with a final development plan. We're not authorizing any construction. We're not authorizing any purchases. But if I have a corporation that may want to come forward and offer a significant investment to make this project happen, I don't really feel comfortable making that ask if I don't think we have the support of the trustees for the project, should they bring that funding forward. So I will move on to make a motion to approve Resolution 63-2020, a resolution requesting the City of Miamisburg, Ohio, to use its municipal powers to regulate traffic within the Miami Crossing Joint Economic Development District. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Township Trustees of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
Mr. Posey.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 064-2020, a resolution to declare certain township articles as surplus property and authorize the sale and disposal of said property. Therefore, be it resolved in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 505.10, the Miami Township Board of Trustees declares the attached list of articles as surplus property to be disposed of, sold, or traded in, and removed from the department's inventory. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
Mr. Posey.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 065-2020, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, that the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission in its certification be and the same are hereby accepted, and be it further resolved that there be and is hereby levied on the tax duplicate of said township the rate of each tax necessary to be levied within and without the 10 mil limitation as listed on the attached documents, and be it further resolved, the fiscal officer of this board and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the county auditor of Montgomery County. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second. And I'd also like to read Resolution 66 when it's time.
All righty. So we have a second on Resolution 65. Any further discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
Mr. Posey.
Aye.
We pass Resolution -2020, resolution to sell property to a retiring employee. Whereas Officer Patrick M. McCoy is retiring his commission as police officer at the end of business on October 1st, 2020. And whereas Officer Timothy R. Beatty is retiring his commission as police officer at the end of business on November 7th. The Board of Trustees has considered Officer Patrick M. McCoy and Officer Timothy R. Beatty's request to purchase their service weapons for $100 each, and therefore be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees authorizes the sale of a Glock service weapon with serial number BEYC 779 to Officer Patrick M. McCoy for the amount of $100, and a Glock service weapon with serial number BEYC 782 to Officer Timothy R. Beatty for the amount of $100 respectively, and the sale is effective immediately.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Is there anyone interested in revisiting the motion? All right, hearing none, we will move on. I have no public hearings. Are there any department heads that wish to make any comments? All right, elected official comments, Mr. Newell,
I have none.
Mr. Culp,
I have none.
Mr. Posey.
I have none.
I would just like to share that I was very pleased to get the report from the fire department, thanks to Fire Chief Queen announcing we have a new medic unit 53, which has a new power load cot system, which will save the backbreaking work of loading individuals who need medic service into that unit. It is a expensive piece of equipment, but I think it's a good investment for our community and the services of the fire department. I would love to one day have representatives from our fire district attend these meetings and be available for questions. But I do appreciate that Chief Queen has provided us with a monthly report.
Yeah, as the township's representative to the fire district, I can say that that's certainly one of our items of interest as well, and it is being communicated.
Very good. Looking at the rest of the agenda, we have no work sessions, we have no executive sessions. So having no other business, I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:22. Thank you all.